C.S. Lewis, the author of the Narnia Tales, etc., mused one time in talking about it's a strange thing to live in a society of the kind of people that are here, but to remember that the dullest and most uninteresting person that you talk to one day will become a creature. That if you saw them now, you might think they were a god or something terrible. There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. You've never done that because we are immortals. We will go on forever. And what a wonderful thing that is. We're going to live forever. So we have to kind of be thinking about how do we get through the mass of this world. We have all kinds of things going wrong, and sometimes even our own lives and our own actions, as we say in the Confiteor, how I have sinned, both doing things and not doing what we should. It's a radical individualism in our country right now. In fact, the whole world. It's all about me, my life, me. And we live in that. And it affects us. It's very difficult not to be thinking about that in our own lives. And so we have to kind of look into our scriptures and see what we can actually learn something about this, especially on this day of the time when Jesus says, okay, here's what I really look like. Here's what you're going to look like. And we have this first reading, which is an odd reading. God had already made a covenant with Abraham. And he was going to be the father of more than the stars in the sky. And he's some 95, 96, 97 years old. And God says, okay, I want you to take your son, the one you love, who was a young man by now. He wasn't a little baby or a 10-year-old. He's a grown man. And he says, let us go to Moriah, that we might offer sacrifice to God. Because God has told him, I want you to go and to sacrifice your son. Now imagine what is going through Abraham's mind, in his heart. This is the one who's going to be, the next one in line. Now God says, take his life. Sacrifice him. How hard that would be for him. You can imagine if God said that to any one of us. Take your son and sacrifice your son for me. But that's what he did. And, Isaac could have run away. But his father's old. Probably could have pushed him out of the way. So I don't want that to happen. But at the very last moment, he's on the byre. The wood is there, and he's ready with his knife to sacrifice his son. And only then does God say, stop. I know that you love me more than anything else, even your own son. It's a powerful, powerful moment in the scriptures. It happens only once. 1,000 years go by, and the temple is built on Moriah. And 1,000 years from then, Jesus dies on the cross on Moriah. And we hear this beautiful story of what God did for us. And Jesus asks us the question, do I love God, or do I love the things of God? The difference. You know, when everything is going right, oh, it's pretty good, pretty good. You know, we like life and things are going well. But when something goes wrong in our eyes, then we get angry with God. I can't tell you how many times in confession somebody said, well, I was angry with God. And I would say, well, what did God do to you? Well, somebody got promoted and I didn't. And I said, God did that? Really? God did that? Or my father died? Well, why are you angry with God? Why would you be angry with God because your father died? Well, he's not around anymore. Well, you know, all of us in church today, there will be a time when we won't be around either. But why would we be angry with God? See, when everything's going okay, then God's okay. But when something happens, then it's God's fault. Are we more in love with the things of God, the benefits of God, than God? No. And God gives us lots of benefits. We can breathe, we can live, all kinds of things. He keeps us in existence. And as long as the existence is okay, well, then God's okay. But here we have this father of faith, Abraham. I love God more than the benefits of God. Happens in the book of Job, too. You know, Job was doing great. And then, you know, the opposer said, well, to God, that's just because he has all these things. Take these things away, and he will curse you. Of course, Job says, you know, the Lord gives, and the Lord takes. Blessed be the Lord. Now he got angry. Job got angry and protested, but he didn't change his faith. God still came first. We have to kind of live like that and say, I need to love God more than the benefits. Could be a great wife, a great husband, wonderful children, plenty of financial stability, all kinds of things. But what happens when those go away? Do we still have that same faith in God? And think about Jesus on the cross. And think what he went through. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to go on the cross. But he said, your will, not mine. He puts his Father first. And look what just everything was going wrong. His friends had left him. People were spitting on him. All kinds of awful, awful things were going on. And he says, forgive them. To your hands I commend my spirit. It was about the Father, not about himself. And now we have this great, wonderful experience with Peter, James, and John, and they see Jesus transfigured. And when he sees the glory, they see the glory of God, and said, "Look, this is what the end is. The end is to be in that heavenly kingdom. But we always need to work on putting God first before anything else, before your career, before you go to, before you think about what school you're going to go to. You have to put God first. All those other things pass. They go away. We are immortal, and we are going to live forever. And there are two ends to that. Either we will be part of that transfiguration in these glorified bodies, which we can't even imagine how great those are going to be, or we will turn into horrible, horrible monsters. That's where we're going to end up. And this Lent, it's a great time for us to ask the question, do I love God more than the benefits of God? That's what we have to ask ourselves. That's what sets us up. That one day we will be in that beautiful, beautiful place we call heaven, that we can't even imagine how beautiful it is. So let us think about, what is it? Are we ready to say to God, your will, not mine? We say what Jesus said. Do I love God more than the benefits of God?